I'm just going to get my microphone here. All right. So we're on page Kuf Samach Aleph now. Kuf Samach Aleph, we're going to read across the top. It's a longer piece. So it says, V'ata nevayar inyan asa'aras deresha dezah. Let's look at the head of Zah and his hairs. Da de beresha dezah b'yesh shlosha mini sa'aros. There are 3 different types of hairs. V'nikroim kotzim v'nimim sa'aros. So these are all words that we learned over in the Idris that had to do with Eric Anpen. Now he says that you have the same words over here by Zer Anpen and his hair. So Parsha B'Davarku, so the explanation of this is Ki Kavar Bi'arno Sheyesh B'Zeh B'Shlosh B'Chinos. The Zah has 3 different aspects. V'hem Ibur Rishon, V'Yanikah, V'Ibur Sheni. So there's the original conception, and then there's Yanikah. And then the next one, so these mokim, the Ibur Rishon V'Yanikah, Hem Shemus Shel Elokim. Mochin the Gadlut, Hem Shel Havayos. So he says, Gam Nizboyer, Ki B'Ba HaMochin the Gadlut B'Rosh Zer Anpin. So when the Mochin the Gadlut come in, Nidchid Nidochim HaMochim the Katnas the Mat, it pushes the Mochin the Katnas that are originally there downwards. El Ash'im called Zecha B'Oidach B'Aral Zecha L'Malo B'Tata the Eila, but it still keeps shining from the downwards upwards. I'm not sure the significance of that, which is my nukvin. I'm not sure what the significance is. But then to give it because shlosh bechinos hamochim and its karim, so therefore we see like this in all the 3 different bechinos of the mochim that we're talking about. He says that somkim barosh zer anpek, they all grow on the head of zer anpen. Hakutzim shehem tikifim yotzim mochim de'ivar. So the kutzim, which are very strong or very tough, I guess, yotzim mochim de'ivar, they come from that stage of the ivor. Baraninim de'inim she'im yoser, which are smoother. Inun, and he keeps using this word inun now. Inun memochim dezman Yanikah. They're mochim that come from the time of Yanikah. Baharasaras the inin she'irin yoser, then the hairs, which he calls hairs of Hazaros here, they're even more smooth. Inun mochin the Gadlut. These are mochin the Gadlut. V'tam b'dam v'kuki seir heim osios aser. Interesting fact. So he says v'ku b'chinas ha-mochin the Gadlut, and this is talking about the mochin of Gadlut. Shehem kabayas the, excuse me. So the mochin the Gadlut are high, are shehem kabayas the miloyim, and other there are havayos in a milui form. Shebakol achas yeshbo eser osius. Shehem shem havaya av sag ma, and he includes ben. So he says all of those things of the mochin are coming into Zer Anpin. Gam seir ku osius eser. Now, I'm always interested in the power of the miluyim. Here he says that this is the definition of the mochin Gadlut. Gam seir ku osius eser. So it's also the word eser, which means, of course, 10. And it refers to the Yud, Os Rishona Shel Havaya, so it's the first letter also of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now he says, V'hi nechab b'za'aras and nikroim kutzim shehem mochin de'iver, which are those mochin that have to do with Ibur. Yotzim betachida, they go out at the beginning. V'lechein heim oruchim, so since they start first, so therefore they're going to be longer. And they go all the way down to the chest of Zah, until they reach the area of the Nuk, that is the head of the Nuk, which was called Rachel. So now at the time of Yanikah, there were other hairs that grow at that time. Whether we're talking about the Kotzim, of Elo the Kroim Nimim, so he said, wait a minute, Benas Aras and Nikroim Kotim, Elo the Kroim Nimim, Avachavachem Yosef Bekatsarim, but they're shorter. The other 2 are the shorter ones. V'nim shakim ad the garam dezal. They only go to the garam dezal ad reisha denuk ilah until you reach the head. And he's designating that the head is at the same place as the neck. Ad reisha denuk the ilah hanikroleya. V'ayim b'hakadamas bir idris azinu. You look over there. Be'inyan kasher tefillin shel rosh amasha nira lani azdai sham. Okay, not sure where that is or what it is. So then after this, somchim benechem aros acheres, other hairs start to grow there. B'mochin de Gadlut, from the mochin of Gadlut. V'heim yoser ketzarim mekulim, they're shorter than all of them. V'ina nimshakim rak al gilgol to the reisha de zera bilvad, they only reach the skull. No, he's sitting on top of the head. Behem l'tzorach atzbo below l'zasos, and not going to Leah, they're not going to Rachel, but they're just for Zah himself. Behine od shemati drush acher b'mari zal b'zeh. I also heard another drush in regards to this from my master. So he says b'zeh ki kotzim hem nimshachem v'yotzim v'mocha chmuchus chachma v'zah. So he says that when you look at the kutzim, which are the first ones, they come from the Chachman of Zah, Benimim Memocha Bina de Zah, V'Sa'aros Bina Das de Zah. A Kola Chesadim, which the Das de Zah, of course, has Chesadim and Geburas in it. Benim Gematria Kuf. Now he throws this in. The word Nema is a Gematria 101, really. He says the Gematria of Kuf, Shahuz Sot Gavaya Desag, which is the secret of the Gavaya Desag. Umilui, it's the via the sag along with its umiluya and its milui, that is 37 and 63. Shahu begematria lamed zayin, which is 37. B'chasircha osias apeshutas, that is, you get this when you remove the pashut and you wind up with lamed zayin, the sag b'lamed zayin heim kuf. But I've got nothing else to say about that. He says, I didn't hear anything else. So let's go over here and see how far we can go in the Tiv of Kavanos on page Kuf Samach Aleph. Page Kuf Samach Aleph on number Nun Hey says as follows. He says, Va'ata Shav Harav La'asag B'masha Kosev Koden D'chein, where he originally wrote Shal Tzitzis, he became the Sa'aros HaRosh. That's one of the possibilities. The Tzitzis represents the hairs of the head. The other one was his Staklus. So he comes from the Lashon V'yikachene B'tzitzis Roshi. So over there, Tzitzis means hairs. So let me explain. He says the Inyan of the hairs on the head of Zeranpin. He says Hinei B'Rosh Zeranpin. Yesh Shlosha Sugi Sa'aros, there are 3 different types of hairs. Haboyim Lila B'Shlosh Zimonim Shonim, that come to him at 3 different times. Vela Shlosha Sugi Sa'aros Shabaresha Dezecha B'Chim Nekroim B'Shlosha Shemos, they have 3 different names, which are Kotzim, Nimim, and Sa'aros. Va'atach B'Var Alon V'Rav B'Ezin Yon B'Shech B'Shlosha Mini Sa'aros Halalu. There were 3 different times. Azman Rishon, Kuzman Ibur Rishon, Sheyesh Zah, Shahazku Rak Bebechinas Nefesh Labad, and Zah is only a Nefesh at that point. V'chazman Yanikah v'zaman Hasheni, who are Yanikah Shel Zera Sha'az Yesh L'Zah Gam Bechinas Ruach. So there's another level of light inside of Zeranpin. This is called the second Ibur. It's the Ibur of Gadlut. Sha'az Chazechem Mekabel Es Amogan the Gadlut Shalom. Shehem Nishom Mechai Yechida. V'neshlam Azera B'Kol Al-Marav Ki B'Shleimos. V'Rabamochem Sheyesh L'Zah Ka'asher B'Ku B'Bechinas Ibur Rishon. So when Zah is in the condition of Ibur Rishon, Shehem Nekroyim Mochin the Nefesh, which are called Mochin the Nefesh. Hem Shemo Shal Elokim V'Kein HaMochin Sheyesh Lo L'Zah Ka'asher Kuba B'Chinas Yanikah Shehem Nekroyim Mochin the Ruach Gam Hem Shemos Elokim. So both of them are Elokims. as we know. Aval l'mochen shemekabel l'zecha bizman Gadlut, but with that which he receives at the time of Gadlut, shehem nekroim neshama, chai yechida. So he puts them all of this is the chi. He says yechida chem shema shal chabayos. So he said b'techilo kasher bezachav hu b'bechida zakatna. Behind the bizman ha'ivur b'Yanikah shehem mochen the nefesh and mochen the ruach. So those two particular times, az yesh b'rosha mochen the katna, shehem shema shal l'kem, b'kashibayim l'zechav mochen the shama, chai yechida shehem mochen the Gadlut. Az elo hamochem hem shema shal chabayos v'asher niknas b'rosha mochen the Gadlut be'ivur of shendi the Gadlut az hem deichen namad b'gupa dezah. That's the mochen the kaddish hem shemus alokem. V'hagam shel mochen the kaddish yordi begufa dezah, bevo hamochen the Gadlut im kol zecha be'aretz hamochen the kaddish olu l'mal berosh their anpin, but they all keep going up. Kol ha'aretz, they keep shining upwards, which I guess I'm thinking is my nukvin, because these are dinim, they're calling out. V'liyas ha'aretz hamochen the kaddish berosh their anpin he be'or choizer mitata la'elom. The begufa the zachar the tata, the reisha the zal l'mal. So he's pegging that the elokims are really gufni in ultimately. Because in all of these three mochim, let me see, I got this. Mochim shehem mochim the Ibur, mochim the Yanikah, mochim the Gadlut. Some came berosh their arpen shlosha minis aros. Bechina achas. Who are kotzim shehem saras the kifim, ba'ofen shema aras hamochen the Ibur shehem nekroim nefesh yotzim berosh their anpin saros shenekroim kotzim, vas aras nekroim nimim shehem saras cholokim yoser, which are more smooth. Elu yotzer berosh their anpin aras hamochen the Yanikah. So what is it that they are yotzim berosh their anpin? They go out of their anpin as a result of the aras hamochen, the Yanikah nikroim ruach. V'chasa'aras the nikroim sa'aras shehem osem sa'aras al cholokos yosem bekulam. It's one that's more than all the rest. Let me just see if I miscalculated the first one. Elu yotzim berosh their anpin. These are the mochin at the time of Zia of Yanikah. Barosh their anpin ha'aretz hamochen the Yanikah, and they come out as a result of those of the hairs. Okay, back down here to ayin hey. Elu ha'aretz yotzim barosh their anpin ha'aretz hamochen the Gadlut and they crime the shama chai yechida. So these are hairs that grow as a result of the entrance of that shafa. V'hatam lezos, the reason for this is she'rak ha'aretz and they crime sa'aros, only the hairs, those ones which are actually called sa'aros, hairs, hey ha'aras hamochen the Gadlut, they come from the ara of the mochen the Gadlut. Kemen sheha'osir shebetevas seir shehem sa'aros hem ka'osius hamilu eser, since they're like that, the word eser itself, the eser shehem osius seir, which are actually the words seir itself. He says, hey, Ramazin the mochen the Gadlut, they're a reference to mochen the Gadlut. He said, mochen the Gadlut, aim shemus havayas b'miluyim. So the mochen the Gadlut are really havayas, as we said before, they're asmab. But call milui the havayas v'yeshbo eser osius. Although we learned that Ben has only 9. This is to tell you this, that the Seir, which represents these names, are, I guess, at the time of greatness of the Gadlut, Hem Shemu Shalabayas B'Miluyim should be called Milu Yesh Eser Sfiros. V'atam B'farish Rav Ha'araz Heich Yesh Eser Osias B'Kol Shem Abayas B'Miluyim, and now he goes through the various different names. I'm just going to go through these numbers: Av, Sag, Ma, U, Ben. He said B'Shem Abayas the Milu, the Reb did that one. But the Milui Hayan Yesh Tesha Osias, there's only 9 letters, in case you were wondering how it got to be 10. Bima Koilul Hem Eser Kazan. Then he shows it to us, and it's actually, you have to include the Kolo. So therefore, the concept of them being 10s goes along with the concept of Gadlut, which is Yud. Yesh pirish noisef b'mnei ma b'mnei ma hab'chinach nikras aros. So there's another one because of this aspect called hairs. He mehamoch the Gadlut shehem avaya, which they come from the moch and the Gadlut, which is a havaya. So what we're talking about is that the hairs really come out of this simple Yud Kei Vav Kei. I'm not sure that what he meant here. So he says that Tevis Seir, he owes his Milui Aser. V'zecha v'remez the Oz Hayud, the Rishon of Elvaya, Shehi Aser. V'lechein es Aras HaMomal Zechon D'Shem B'vaya, Shuhu Hashem the Mochen the Gadlus. V'chakutzim, Shehem as Aras Sheberosh Zer Antrin, Shenaasa B'mocha the Ibur Nikroim Nefesh, B'techile B'zman the Ibur at the beginning, at the time of gestation, Mizgalach B'chidus Nefesh B'zad, then you see that. V'lechein HaKotzim, Shehem Ramaz in the Mocha B'zman the Ibur, Heim Yotzim, Techile Kodem the Shar B'chidus, as Aras goes out first. V'keven She'elach HaKotzim, Heim as Aras Yotzes, B'chile B'rosh Zal, so since these are the hairs, they came out beginning in the head of Zah. V'chochem Aras Ruchos, but for their long hairs, Hanim Shachas B'chutz, other chosed of Zah that are coming out from the head until they reach the chest of Zah. And as they're doing this, they begin at Rosh Hanukkah Nikras Rachel. The Kevin Shal Hanukkah Med has been the chosed of Zah Lamata. So he said that's the end of that, the Zah Mat. So he said V'ad Kan Bir Harav as Inyan as Aras and Nikra Kotzim. So that's the end of his explanation on the Kotzim. Shehem Aras and okay, that's it. All right. Okay, listen, her neshama should have an aliyah. I mean, what was her name? Raina Yached. Oh, Brina. Oh, Brina, yeah. Brina Yached.
Shimon.
Okay, I got the Shimon part. Okay. Neshama should have an aliyah. Call to.